Hello, I'm Eugene Low, and this is a Slice of Life hour for your dose of do-it-yourself motivation. ChinKar is publisher of Right Editions, a Singapore-based publisher that aspires to publish books that inspire and enliven lives and the society. He has been in book and magazine publishing for over 15 years and has published important works for leading authors, organizations, and non-profit groups. But his passion for the written word wasn't always on his mind. It was a sudden epiphany over 15 years ago that led him to the path of publishing.
I was actually trained to be first an engineer. But strangely, back in my teen, somehow I was motivated to start to have this passion to master the English language. I didn't know why.
You didn't know why?
Yes, I didn't know why. Maybe because of my faith. And that because I realized that ultimately I was imagining what is the world without words? What is the world without imagination? Of course, I'm also very interested in economics, especially information economics. And then I asked myself, yes, we can keep producing things and we keep pushing things onto others. But then again, what will be the ultimate gain at the end of the day? But then I realized that life is so much more about things. For example, these questions I always debate with my friends. What defines a soul? Is it things, possession, or is it words, the beauty of words? Or is it music, and is it art? I come to the conclusions that what ultimately shapes a soul is words, music, and art.
It's expression, right? However you choose to express it, whether it's
not just about
not
just about how you express it, but rather what you consume. The elements of words, music, and art, they are going to shape you as a person, and not the things. And so, because of that, I realized that yes, this is worthy pursuit for me. So I begin to be serious, in my language, in reading up things about the world. So I started to read about politics. I started to read about economics.
You were hungry for knowledge. And
I was hungry for knowledge.
Yourself with a lot of
That's
information.
Right. Yeah.
And that's fascinating because you were trained to be an engineer, and then suddenly one day it seems like a very natural calling, right? And it seems
yes, it's interesting because can you imagine that when I didn't because I did marine engineering, and the reason why I went to marine engineering because it gave me a chance to travel around the world. So can you imagine when I was doing my examination, I was more interested in words, right? So there was a particular case where there was an examination, and that I didn't quite prepare for the examination. But because I was actually quite strong by then in my language, so I started to write things that for questions that I didn't quite understand. And then after the paper was presented, I didn't score very high. I scored maybe about 60 plus. And I asked my lecturer, sir, how is it that I wrote so much, but I scored so little, so few marks? And then it was curious, and then the lecturer said, hey guy, and hey ChinKar, I didn't ask you to write a novel. I asked you to present to me, the right answers. But then again, he told me that at that point in time, I said, wow, I didn't know the answer, but with some words, I was able to pass. But of course, there's a naughty part of my younger days. But more importantly was that I realized how powerful words can be. And for me, as to your first question, what it means to be a publisher really is about what it means to publish the right kind of books that are meaningful, books that will stay for decades. The words that are in a book, I have so many authors that I work with. Many of them are very established in their own field. And these books that they have written, as a publisher, I feel very proud of them. That their books are able to inspire as well as educate many people.
And what's interesting about your publishing firm as well is that you seek to publish books that actually have, I suppose, a social function. You know, that help people. You've published important works for non-profit groups as well, and a lot of your authors write about very personal experiences with people who are maybe disenfranchised, who are the less fortunate in society, and things like that. So, what made you want to have that focus in your work?
Okay, that's a very important question. Key is that apart from publishing books that are about lives, I actually publish quite a number of books on other very key subjects. For example, education, health, business and communication, branding. But the trust is the same. And that is the well-being of an individual, the well-being of a company, and ultimately the well-being of a society. So the people and the authors that I choose, there is we have the same philosophical approach to seeing what is right for a subject. For example, I have a book entitled The Happy Student. So we have a case of how this student by the name of Daniel, he was pursuing all the A's, but then he was very unhappy. In fact, in his book, he actually said that he was going into some form of depression, and that he realized that in order for him to get out of it, there must be a new approach for him to study. So he came up with 5 steps to help him to study well, but more importantly, being purposeful in academic excellence. So because of that, he applied that in his university. He emerged top of the whole cohort in the University of Duke. At the same time, he said, and that was more important, I was happy.
Right. So there's a vision to spread good, positive messages to other people via these books and via individual experiences as well. I'm curious, did you ever write your own book, or no aspiration to be an author? I mean, you obviously have a gift for language, so why as a publisher more than an author?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this book that I want to write, in fact, and hopefully in 1 or 2 years' time, I'd like to have the book published. But of course, as an author, you don't publish it yourself.
Why not?
I will have friends who are publishers to publish it for me.
Right, okay.
But more importantly, to publish a book is not about a journey of self-glorification, but rather to share your own journey, to share your own failures, and to share your own triumphs.
Yes, I think that's very important as well. I mean, I think another function of books and reading other people's books is that you actually learn so much about yourself and about your own life and the world around you through the experiences of other people,
that's
right?
That's right. That is why there's one question that I want to pose to our listeners, and that question is this: what do you think is the currency of an authentic life?
All right, and I'm sure that will percolate in their minds. Let it simmer for a while. In the meantime, let's go on to what we're talking about today, a slightly more, I suppose, metaphysical aspect of what we're talking about today, writing our own story. ChinKar, do you think each of our lives is a story?
I've been pondering this question. Like it or not, Eugene, every life is a story. You have but no choice. The key question is that, what kind of story would you like to write?
It's like the world is a theatre, and we've been thrust into these roles already, right? So we're not given a choice. We have to act out these stories. Yeah?
In fact, the kind of stories that you make or you carve out is very dependent on the choices that you make every single day. There's an award-winning actress by the name of Helen Mirren. You know what she said? She said, you write your life story by the choices you make every day. How true it is.
And I'd like to pursue this, this analogy of our lives being stories, or our life being a story. What are the, what sort of lessons or philosophies does this analogy teach us?
You see, I always believe that the real currency of life is not so much of what we own, but the being that we are.
ChinKar, publisher of Right Editions, a Singapore-based publisher that aspires to publish books that inspire and enliven lives and the society. More information over at writeeditions.com. That's WRITE editions.com. I'm Eugene Low, and my conversation with ChinKar continues in a few minutes here on A Slice of Life R on 938 Live. You're listening to A Slice of Life R on 938 Live with me, Eugene Low, your dose of do-it-yourself motivation, and my conversation with ChinKar continues now. He is publisher of Right Editions, a Singapore-based publisher that aspires to publish books that inspire and enliven lives and the society. He has been in the publishing industry for over 15 years, and ChinKar continues to share with us his thoughts on the real currency of life and what truly makes a life worthwhile.
You know, we always measure success of life based on the material gain that we have got. But that is so frivolous. That is so temporal. These questions, we, among our friends, we are entering into our half a century, and we ask this question: what would you be thinking about when you were at a deathbed? What is it that you'll be thinking about? And then suddenly that questions kind of jolt everyone. Is it going to be how much you own? Or is it about how much you've given away? Hence, I always believe that the level or the depth of your life is really dependent on how much you spend your life for others, rather than how much time or how much efforts you spend to gain for your life.
Because when you give to others, it really takes on a life of its own as well.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
And it's so liberating. When you see your life as a life to be spent for others, it is just so liberating. You are no longer trying to keep everything for yourself. The Sea of Galilee, we know that it has tributaries. They receive water from other rivers, but at the same time, it has tributaries. That means it also distributes the water. And that because of that, you receive and give away. The Sea of Galilee is so vibrant, so vigorous with life, marine life.
Yeah.
But compared to the Dead Sea, it receives and keep receiving, but it has no outlet.
Yeah.
And that's why it's a Dead Sea. Nothing survives in that sea.
Exactly.
So the question is, what kind of life do you want to have? Is it a life that is similar to the Sea of Galilee? Whatever you received, you give it away. Or the Dead Sea, whatever you receive, you keep it for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, that's the very essence of life, isn't it? Even our breathing, we inhale and we exhale as well.
That's right.
And there's movement, and that's what essentially sustains life as well. Now, and it gets interesting also because when we think about our lives as stories, then we start to think about obviously then there is an author to the story. So different people will have different perceptions of who this author is, right? Some people may think that, again, like you said, we were thrust into these stories, so we are not the authors, perhaps, But what is your perception? Who do you think is writing our story?
I guess when you are living in this world, not only you write your own stories based on the choices you make. Yes, it's true that sometimes the surroundings itself will also help you write your story. But more importantly, the questions we must have, and these questions was posed by, the Greek philosopher Socrates. He says that an unexamined life is not worth living. You see, the problem with most of us is that we don't even have time to contemplate about our life at the end of each day. And because of that, somehow we just live life and allow the world to define who we are and what we do. But more importantly, we have to be very, very aware of where we are and what is the connection between ourselves and the world, and how the world thrusts itself onto us. And ultimately, I always believe, is that you must have your own conviction. You must have a sense of eternal perspective to make that choice.
Right. Okay. So we are the authors of our own stories. Ultimately, but we do get influenced.
We will be influenced by the world. I mean, the affairs of the world. Some of the affairs of the world, we have completely no control.
Yeah.
And in fact, I know some people plan so much for their lives.
Yeah.
And that they want to have a certain sense of control in their lives. They want to plan so much. But then again, control over our own lives is just but an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm sure you know a person by the name of, this time around, Helen Keller. We know who she is. And she says this: life is an adventure, if not, what is it?
Right, that's just talking about taking risks, right?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. You got to go beyond yourself. In fact, one of the things that that I've been reading is about, in your own life, have you got a dream? Have you got an imagination? Have what poet William Blake say? Have you got a firm persuasion as to what you want to achieve or what you want to be in life? And that questions has to be asked by everyone, not just for the educated. I think every single person has this responsibility to ask themselves. Because life is not just about working, getting a job, getting paid, and paying your bills. It cannot be that, because it's too mechanical. And there's no meaning at all. Life itself got to have a purpose and a meaning beyond the practicals. Yeah.
And that's why I suppose if our life is like, say, a book with blank pages, we're constantly just improvising and writing as we go along, right? But also people come into our lives, different characters go into our stories as well. And likewise, we go into other people's stories.
Right.
And at the end of the day, when our book is completed, it lasts forever, really, right? It goes on to inspire the people.
For sure.
Educate other people via our own experiences.
For sure. You know something, Eugene? You know, I was together with my writer. We were interviewing an old man. He's a very, very successful businessman. We didn't know that when we interviewed him, he was going to die in 6 months' time. He had cancer. And then we were talking about what truly endure. And then we talk about the 3 Fs that endures and the 3 Fs that do not endure. So what are the 3 Fs that do not endure? Fame, fortune, and faculty, which is power. So he said, you know, all these 3 Fs, they have wings. They will fly away. And then he counted, he said, but the other 3 Fs we must have. And they are the one that will keep us, you know, realize the meaning of life. And that is family, friends, and faith. Faith in whatever you believe in. So he says that, do we not think that we should pursue the 3 Fs that endure rather than the 3 Fs that so many of us are pursuing that will fly away?
Publisher of Right Editions, ChinKar, there speaking with me, Eugene Low, on A Slice of Life R on 938 Live. For more information, go to writeeditions.com, that's WRITE editions.com. My conversation with ChinKar continues in slightly more than half an hour here on 938 Live after Headline News. I'm Eugene Low on A Slice of Life R on 938 Live, speaking today with the publisher of Right Editions, ChinKar. And ChinKar was sharing earlier about what truly makes this life valuable, the 3 Fs, that is family, friends, and faith. Via your work as a publisher of Right Editions as well, one of the aims, I suppose, also is to help people, you know, find this truth, right? That family, friends, and faith are the most important things in life, or rather more important than the other, you know, 3 Fs as well. And that's why your work is so interesting, you know, because publishing, in publishing, you create these treasure troves, really, of wisdom, of information that go on to really have a never-ending impact.
It's true, you know. Just a few days ago, just last week, in fact, you know, I was meeting up with a business owner. We happened to graduate from the same graduate school. And then when we met, straight away asked me, ChinKar, why are you in publishing? I mean, it doesn't quite earn you a lot of money. Then I told this business owner, I said, yes, it's true that in terms of monetary gain, I may not be earning a lot compared to, say, an investment banker. But then again, I believed what I produce and what I publish is going to last a lot more than what they do.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting exchange because we were talking about, you know, in this world, what the glamour of this world is about dollars and cents. You know, achievements, big deals. But here we are in publishing, we're talking about how every single word that we produce is going to shape the heart and mind of a person. And that collectively, when we shape the heart and mind of a individual, an organization, or even a community, can you imagine the power?
Yeah, of a single word, a single phrase. It can be priceless, right? Depending on who and how they absorb that phrase. Yeah, wonderful.
That's right.
And finally, ChinKar, tell me your thoughts about how we can truly, become the authors of our own story.
Well, that really depends on how we see ourselves. I want to read to you a little poem from one of my favorite authors by the name of Oxford Chamber. And it says that actually our life is really the same as a raw iron ore. But what it means is that how do we see our life when we go through the furnace? So this is how it is written. Life is not as either or, the iron ore, but iron dug from central gloom, and battered by the shocks of doom to shape and used. What it really means is that we are all raw when we're first born. But the key for us is that are we willing to go through the furnace of life? Because life itself can be violent. And allow ourselves to go through that furnace of the ups and downs, the vicissitudes of life, and to be so-called purified by the fire, by the furnace of fire, and that we go through that, we emerge strong, and from there we can be a real life to other people.
So since we have a publisher with us today, and obviously you have imbibed and absorbed and encountered countless books in your career as a publisher, let's have you share some of your maybe favorite or works that you find particularly meaningful that our listeners can check out.
Yeah, one of the books that I was particularly impressed is a book entitled The Age of Unreason. And it's written by an economist called Charles Handy. And this book was actually written back in 1991, many years ago. But it's still so relevant. And this book, entitled The Age of Unreason, is one of my favorites, all-time favorites. And the reason why I'm so particularly intrigued by this book is because his argument for the world and for the future somehow define conventional argument about what the world is about. Just read to you a phrase that he made, and that just remember this. This was back in 1991. It says that we are entering an age of unreason, a time when the future in so many years is to be shaped by us and for us, a time when the only prediction that will hold true is that no prediction will hold true. A time, therefore, for bold imagining in private life as well as public, for thinking the unlikely and doing the unreasonable.
That's what's so powerful about, writing books as well, right? It's to present a different perspective, right? And it's to constantly challenge, what we see as reality or and to just keep providing a range of perspectives to keep, I suppose, the thought processes going. If we keep reiterating the same old things, life wouldn't be very meaningful with it.
It's true, Eugene. We must recognize that life itself is not a zero-sum game. You can't plan for A and expect the result to be A, because there are so many unpredictable occurrences. But to me, the constant for us to have, and that is, to me, is that when you spend your life for others, you will truly gain your life. And that to me is predictable. That to me is constant. Eugene, even as we ponder upon the few questions that we have had, I just want to share with the audience that, whatever stage they are in, whether you're a student, whether you are a working adult, or even whether you are a retiree, the key questions: do not allow that dream of yours to flit away. In fact, we should have the audacity to continue to imagine that we can achieve something. Because that itself, that imagination and that audacity to believe is worth every bit of our efforts. And that is why, I love this particular phrase said by Osbert Chamber. He says that a man's reach should exceed his grasp. Or what is a heaven for? Mm-hmm. Can you imagine if we always live our lives based on realities? Yes, there's a place for us to appreciate what realities will bring, but there's a place for us to imagine. I remember a story about Albert Einstein. And that, there was a long time ago when parents of young children asked Albert Einstein in one occasion, what is one thing that we can inspire our children to make them successful? And then Einstein very, very brilliantly answered. He says that I cannot guarantee you that my answer will bring success to your children. But there's one thing, one commodity that is priceless that it can inspire in your children, and that is imagination. I believe our lives got to be lived through imagination. And we should never, never, never underestimate the power of imagination, because I believe that is one of the most exciting currency of living life adventurously. So the key question is that, do you live life every single day with great fear and anxiety? Or do you live life every single day with great belief and faith that it's going to be an exciting day?
It's what fuels, the fire of our,
and that is why
days,
the
right?
word in our mind, the word in our heart has got to be good, has got to be noble. So whatever thing that is good, we should think about it. Because what's the point of worrying about tomorrow? Because nothing's going to change. But what is important is that we must face tomorrow with great confidence and great faith.
Publisher of Right Editions, that's a Singapore-based publisher, Tan ChinKar, speaking with me here on A Slice of Life R. More information at writeeditions.com. That's WRITE editions.com. I'm Eugene on A Slice of Life R. In just a few minutes, some meaningful media, your comments, Ng Itat, Toksok LZ Socks, and Grouchy R from my Facebook page. Also a wonderful poem sent in by a busy homemaker mom, Mrs. Loy, reflecting on the bits and pieces of news she had read recently. Stay with me on 938 Live. I'm Eugene Low on A Slice of Life R on 938 Live, and thank you so much for making my Slice of Life Facebook page come alive with your posts and reactions to my scripts. On the script on anxiety, Ng Itat wrote in, and I always love your posts, Itat. You write, we are normally distracted from what we should focus on. Let us learn to distract ourselves from what distracts us so we focus on what we really want. Thanks for that, Itat. On the piece on decision anxiety, Toksok LZ Socks writes, after reading this, one thing that keeps running in my mind is the lack of discipline. The wandering mind and the lack of resilience to resist temptation often distracts us from the path of focus. But ultimately, failure is when you give up and stop doing what you have been trying to achieve. On the script on time travel, about negative recollections and fearful anticipation of the future, Grouchy R says, I went through this path and only after I released myself from it, I see better of the surroundings. Still work in progress though. When you live in hate, you only remember how bad. That I can relate, as I was there once. And Grouchy R also writes, admiration of someone has been a painful journey for me, and I gave up. What I've learned from that experience is to admire someone that is easier for you to learn from and progress from that step. And no point saying how great a person is and how much you yearn for that person, and you become the opposite of that person. That has a repercussion for the people around you. Thank you so much for your reactions and comments and posts on my Facebook page. Do keep them coming in. Search A Slice of Life under Pages. Also, thank you very much for your original poem that you have sent in. A busy homemaker mom, Mrs. Loy, and she wrote this in January 2015, just this year actually, reflecting on the bits and pieces of news she had read recently. And she writes, Each day in our modern lives, we can be bombarded with so many pieces of tragic and inspiring news. How can we respond? Are we immune to all these life-changing events we hear day in, day out? Or are these for interest's sake only, for use in school essays to get higher content marks? Or can they move us to live better lives? And this is the poem that she has composed. Only one life I know I live. One life we see with certainty. So let me live it full and free, whatever is in store for me. So many paths that people take, hearts that heal, and hearts that break, from news that travel from afar or nearer home that does us shake. With fear and trembling of missing flights, Ebola deaths and triumphs of grace, and stories of kindness, of sacrifice, of one's liver to an unknown life, of a mother blind who sees her babe through vision lent by technology, and those who with compassion give. I hear of Auschwitz, closed now 70 years, and round the world anew the tears roll to remember millions who died with loved ones dying by their side. Or far away, without goodbyes. On a lighter note, yet tinged with blue, I read of Todd and Maya Blake, and many others who, despite one dying of cancer, marry the other and live each day with strength and wonder, resolved to make each day count, for love that death can't pull asunder, but rather remind that life is precious, and so they live much better than ever. When healthy couples strive and fight, they each day kiss and hug goodnight. I think of Ken and Joni Tada, and Nick Vujicic and their inspiring lives. Hope sprung from hopelessness of having no limbs or having them limp. They fought, and now they more than survive. They live. They truly live. Some other paths lead to danger zones, kidnapped and kept in dark unknowns by violent minds who know no bounds and know not kindness but grievous harm. These blighted minds need to know of better truths and love to show. There's so much pain the whole world over, yet joy in every little corner. I think of Amelia Taylor, who with determined mother was born in her mere 21st week, with skin so thin her ear nigh tore off. But now she's in her terrible twos, a miracle baby, that's for sure. Only one life I know I live, one life we see with certainty. This one. What shall it be? For us, our family, our friends, our loves, I'll live it, looking up and above. Thank you very much, busy homemaker mom, Mrs. Loy, for sending that in. Share with me your thoughts, your comments, perspectives, reflections, or original works. Email eugene@mediacorp.com.sg.
When Mac was swimming, I was running late, walking around New Orleans, looking for a birthday cake. It was a great surprise to him, so many people came. Nobody knows, darling, nobody knows how they are loved. Don't worry, my darling, the sun's coming out. Let's get up early now, dive clear into the day. Let's get out of the car with open arms, not wait to be embraced. With flowers that grew, the things that happened. sun's coming up.
The Innocence Mission with When Mac Was Swimming. Do send me your suggestions of meaningful media at eugene@mediacorp.com.sg or post over at my Facebook page. Search A Slice of Life under Pages. I'm Eugene Low, and this has been A Slice of Life Hour. Thank you so much for listening.